Also in Washington, the president put new pressure on the government to take better care of wounded U.S. troops. He's given a new task force 45 days to report on conditions at military hospitals. This is in addition to the bipartisan panel led by former Senator Bob Dole and President Clinton's Health Secretary Donna Shalala. Today, President Bush said the panel will make sure wounded Americans do not get lost in the system. But as ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross reports, there were plans for a system to keep vets from getting lost until, Brian, the VA killed it.
Seems so, Elizabeth. Former VA officials tell ABC News that a program to accomplish that very thing, make sure wounded soldiers do not get lost in the bureaucracy, was shelved 2 years ago when Secretary Jim Nicholson took over the VA.
Attention!
Army Specialist Tyson Johnson had just been promoted in a field ceremony in Iraq when a mortar round exploded outside his tent.
It was like warm water running down my arms, but it was warm blood.
Army doctors saved his life, but Johnson got lost in the bureaucracy after being discharged and turned over to the VA in Alabama. Johnson, fighting for months to get treatment from the local VA hospital, ended up living and sleeping in his car. The problems Johnson and thousands of other wounded vets are having with the VA were supposed to have been solved more than 2 years ago by what was called a Seamless Transition Task Force, set up by then VA Secretary Anthony Principi.
Young men and women who have served in uniform should not have to climb over walls, should not have to wait long periods of time.
A key recommendation of the task force, a computerized contingency tracking system to load the military's medical and benefit records on each wounded soldier directly into VA computers around the country. But when former Republican Party Chairman Jim Nicholson took over at the VA in early 2005, the program seems to have died.
It was shelved. It was not acted upon by VA. I believe some of that happened because Mr. Principi, who took a very high-profile interest in helping the returning war veterans, was replaced by the new secretary, Jim Nicholson at VA, and the Seamless Transition Task Force basically shut down.
When we asked Nicholson about it today, he seemed unfamiliar with the program.
The contingency tracking system, why has that not been implemented at the VA? Why has that been shelved, that program?
I'm not sure I know what program you're referring to.
On Capitol Hill today, one of Nicholson's deputies confirmed the VA still cannot connect to Pentagon computers to get the records of the wounded.
I don't think they have that capability. We get the names, but the medical information we need comes to us as it has for all these years in paper files.
It was a remarkable admission of how slowly things have moved at the VA. The VA says it is now working on a new system that officials say is very near deployment. That's 2 years after a similar system, Elizabeth, was shelved.
All right, Brian Ross, thank you. In Iraq today,